This article will demonstrate that how seemingly looking like unimportant article, but it appears it is like loaded with the very relevant facts and concepts. आर्टिकल दिखने में ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं लगेगा आपको. यू विल फील कि लाइक दिस इज इट मस्ट बी इन्वॉल्विंग सम सॉर्ट ऑफ पॉलिटिक्स बिकॉज CM इज सेइंग दैट सेंटर एंड स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स आर इन्वॉल्व. आपको लगेगा कि शायद ये इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, बट वी विल लर्न कि कैसे इन केसेस में भी दी आर्टिकल्स आर एक्चुअली लोडेड विद बहुत अच्छे अच्छे concepts and facts. So the first question that I would like to ask is that can upstream environmental degradation in one state increase flood vulnerability in a downstream state, and how should such interstate ecological issues be addressed? So what I am actually asking is this, that environmental degradation, okay, environmental degradation in upstream state. Upstream state means that state that is lying above or lying at the earlier stretch of the river or the lying on the upper side of the hill. Can environmental degradation in upstream state or one state can cause vulnerability, can bring disasters in डाउनस्ट्रीम स्टेट? क्या ऐसा हो सकता है? एक अपस्ट्रीम स्टेट में अगर एनवायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन हुआ तो इट विल लीड टू डिजास्टर्स इन डाउनस्ट्रीम स्टेट. दिस इज द फर्स्ट इशू दैट इज बीइंग हाईलाइटेड ओवर हियर. सेकेंड वन इज इंटरस्टेट ecological issues. How to resolve? How you are going to resolve interstate ecological issues? Like if ecological issue is happening within the boundaries of one particular state, then though that state can take decisions or that state can get assistance and fix it. But what if two states are involved? Then if the ecological degradation is happening at this level, at the intersection of both these states, or if the ecological degradation is happening in one state and it is impacting the other state, then this kind of issue, how it can be resolved? So these two are the basic core issues that are being identified in this article. That's why I said that this is going to be a very good article, very useful article. So the core issue over here is divided districts. So here you will see that there are 3 districts in Assam. So recently Assam has been facing very severe floods. So floods के न्यूज़ देख करके you will simply skip कि flood है तो flood के लिए the same way forward, same issues involved, वो लिख करके तो एग्जाम कर लेंगे, वो तो हमें आता. This kind of thoughts may be coming to your head. But the unique aspect of this time's Assam flood is that the majority of the people who died in the 3 districts of adjoining Nagaland. So if this is Assam, so and this is Nagaland, for example, you take like northeast, the adjoining districts of Assam, districts of Assam which are adjoining with Nagaland, those have seen majority of people have died in those districts. The districts are Sivasagar, Charaidev and Jorhat. These districts hardly have a history of major flood. So this becomes very important, that flood happening is okay, but there is issue is that there is have not faced floods historically. Like there is no strong flood related vulnerability in recent times or in historical times, but it is witnessing devastating floods this year. Don't you think that this type of uniqueness, this type of exceptional issues obviously become very important for your UPSC examination? Like UPSC will simply ask, and like we will look into it how these two core concepts are interrelated. So These three districts have no history of major flood, but this year they are facing the flood. So what could be the reasons? We will look for reasons ना. What could be the reasons भाई? ऐसा क्यों हो गया कि ऐसे districts में flood आ रहे हैं? This article actually gives allegations. This article gives some viewpoints that these could be the probable probable reasons. Only allegations are given. Only like prospects are given. Guesswork is done. It does not say that these reasons are the only responsible factors. What are the reasons being given? First reason, it says that it has removed vegetation. Vegetation is being removed. Then it says that slopes destabilized. Then it says runoff has increased. Then it says sediment flow has increased. And these things are happening on which side? These things are happening on the Nagaland side. So vegetation is being removed in the Nagaland side. Slopes are being destabilized in Nagaland side, and because of this, runoff is increasing, sediment flow is increasing, and ultimately the brunt of the flood is being faced by Assam, because Assam is lying in the lower side of the hill. So what are the activities that are responsible for this? This article also mentions some activities. What are the activities? The activities being mentioned over here is sand mining, second it says stone quarrying, okay, sand mining, stone quarrying, coal mining, and obviously the tree felling. So these activities are on rise on the Nagaland side, and it is being said that these are mostly illegal. So these illegal activities like sand mining, stone quarrying, coal mining, tree felling, these are very prominent along the foothills of Nagaland, and these activities have removed the natural resistance to the flood waters that rush down the hills of Nagaland after bouts of extremely heavy rain. So one more reason is extremely heavy rain. This is also one of the reasons. But extremely heavy rains, the impact of extremely heavy rains got compounded because of the repercussions of these activities, and because of this the lower hillside region of Assam has faced severe floods. Now it comes, let's come to this issue that we identified at the start, that can environmental degradation in one upstream state cause disasters in downstream state? Yes, this is very much true. Now these are just like guessworks. There is no scientific evidence to this, and actually this chief minister also talks about conducting some good research or scientific collection of scientific evidence in this. But if this is true that these districts have not faced floods recently, but this time they have got flooded very heavily, and if you can connect this, then obviously environmental degradation in one state is going to impact the other state. Now this becomes an interstate ecological issue. How can you handle the interstate ecological issue? The simple thing is that here the chief minister says that he will need to consult or he will need to talk to the central government, because in this case only the central government can handle this, because this is an interstate environmental issue, and environmental impacts often cross political boundaries. For example, you take the example of river pollution, air pollution, deforestation, or mining impacts. These issues actually require coordination among the states, central intervention and scientific agencies. That's why if this is an interstate ecological issues involving more than one state, more than two states, then certainly the central government needs to be involved to resolve this issue. There are some suggestions also given, like short-term suggestions, like scientific investigation is required to study for hydrological studies, for environmental assessment, so that evidence-based conclusions can be made. Then it also suggests one more thing, that the highways that have been built there have obstructed the natural flow of flood water in certain areas. Like suppose this is the plain region and you build a highway over there. So highways are usually built on a higher side. If the rainfall comes, extreme heavy rainfall, then on these sides of the areas water gets accumulated, and this leads to prolonged flooding. So this suggests that construct additional cross drainage structures, like some culverts can be constructed below underground to these highways, or culverts can be constructed over to drain the water out from that region. So this is also one of the very good suggestions given over in this article. Now we will move to our next article, that is a kind of political one. Politics is involved in that. If you want to read that article, you need to be very much conscious, like how not to get flown in like emotions, and like how to keep your objectivity in your head, because this article actually highlights some of the major issues being faced by the youth of India. But the kind of language it uses, it is full of anti-government. It entirely blames the government. It does not balance it. बट हमें उसे क्या करना है, हमें तो अपने काम की चीज़ इसमें से निकाल लेनी है. तो हमारे काम की चीज़ें क्या है? द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स आई हैव लाइक मार्क्ड ओवर हियर इज द फर्स्ट. हमारे काम की चीज़ें हैं कि क्या क्या, व्हाट आर द इश्यूज बीइंग फेस्ड बाय द यूथ. इश्यूज फेस्ड बाय यूथ, नौजवानों के द्वारा नौजवान किस तरीके के संकट झेल रहे हैं इस देश में, उसको हम we need to identify those. The first thing is that we know that we have a demographic dividend. तो क्या होता है भाई डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड? A rising share of people in the working age bracket 15 to 64 years out of the total population. ये आपने पढ़ा भी होगा बेसिक्स में. Like suppose this is the population of the country is 100 people in this country. Out of these 100 people, the number of people in the age bracket of 50 to 64 is 35 or 40 or 50. So this is like some kind of increasing trend. That means the population is, a good proportion of the population is quite young and workable and has a workable age, because working population है, यही कहते हैं 20-22 साल से काम शुरू करा, 60-65 साल तक काम करा, उसका रिटायरमेंट ले लिया. So this is called demographic dividend, but it says that we are calling it potential. This demographic dividend is potential because its mere existence does not guarantee its realization. Just because you have a youthful population does not mean that you will reap its benefits. सही बात है. जस्ट बिकॉज आपके पास पैसे हैं इसका मतलब ये थोड़े कि आप अमीर हैं. आपको उन पैसों को यूज़ करने भी आना चाहिए. तो आप अगर आपके पास यूथफुल पॉपुलेशन है एंड इफ़ यू आर नॉट एबल टू लेवरेज दैट पोटेंशियल, दैट द यूथ ऑफ दैट द वर्केबल एज ऑफ दैट पॉपुलेशन for the benefit of your country, then you cannot reap the benefits of this so-called demographic dividend. Fair enough. Second point it highlights is that unemployment rate among youth, in contrast to the overall workers, that shows that India is indeed turning its face away from the youth. So youth unemployment is 3 times higher than overall rate. So whatever the youth employment is in this country, whatever the overall employment, youth employment is much higher than overall unemployment. So youth unemployment is much higher than overall unemployment. This is another issue being identified. Then it says that the more educated you are, the less likely you are to land yourself a job. The lack of jobs for the youth is not a supply but a demand side problem. That means education, higher education does not guarantee employment. डजंट मीन कि आपने इंजीनियरिंग कर ली तो आपको एक अच्छी नौकरी मिल जाएगी, बिकॉज इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज तो हर जगह फैले हुए हैं, हर जगह मेडिकल कॉलेजेस खुल रहे हैं, और उसको भी छोड़ दो आप तो नॉर्मल बीए, बीएससी, बीकॉम के कोर्सेज तो हर जगह हर कोई वही कर रहा है आजकल. बट द मोर यू आर गेटिंग एजुकेटेड, चांसेस दैट यू विल रिमेन अनएम्प्लॉयड, बिकॉज जैसे ही आप एजुकेटेड होते हैं तो सम सॉर्ट ऑफ ईगो इशूज ऑल्सो कम. यू विल फील किया मैंने तो ग्रेजुएशन किया, मैंने तो बीएससी किया, मैंने बीकॉम किया, मैं 15,000 की नौकरी थोड़ी करूँगा. पीपल थिंक दैट वे. मैंने तो इंजीनियरिंग करी है, वो मुझे 15,000 की नौकरी दे रहा है. इंजीनियरिंग मेरा तो जान पहचान का एक इंजीनियर है, वो तो 1 लाख महीना कमाता है. सो दीज इश्यूज आल्सो कम एक्ट एज अ हिंड्रेंस दैट actually converts into like education is not equal to, does not translate into proper employment. Then it talks about expenditure on education by the government. What it says that spending on education as a percentage of GDP has declined consistently over a decade. So spending as share of GDP on education. Suppose our GDP is 100 rupees and we need to spend like suppose 3% of GDP on education, means rupees 3 need to be spent, but actually the expenditure happening is only 2 rupees. For example, I am saying. So in this case we are not spending proper required share of GDP on education. If we are not spending proper fund, proper capital on improvement of the education, then what will happen? Education will be starved of funds, starving of funds to the education sector, and it will lead to like a supply bottleneck. Funds go down, institutions or seats supply will also go down, right? If you are not investing money to open up new colleges, to increasing the seats in the colleges. 10 years ago a seat in the college was 10, for example, considered 100. That 10 years ago the seats in BSc mathematics in Delhi University was 100 seats. Today also suppose it is 100 only, but ideally it should have increased because population has increased, youthful population has increased, like potential demographic dividend has increased, so this should also have increased. But to increase this we will need funds, and we are not getting funds. Why we will need funds? We will need funds to build more classes, we will need funds to hire more good teachers. Education sector is being starved of funds. That's why the supply of institutions and seats is declining, and this is ultimately leading to, like, while the number of applicants rises with the growing youth dividend, the number of seats does not. That is what I explained. So the odds of securing a seat keeps declining every year. This is the reason, like, आपको किसी कॉलेज में सीट लेने के लिए the chances are getting on a lower side every year. और एक बहुत बड़ा रीज़न है कि आप देखेंगे कि हर साल ना बच्चे स्ट्रेस में जा रहे हैं, उन्हें एडमिशन नहीं मिले उनके अच्छे कॉलेजेस में. Now it brings us to sixth reason. Sixth reason is the admissions based on one-day exams. So whatever you have studied in your school, whatever you have studied up to class 12th in school, how much marks you have scored, importance of those marks is getting reduced because what has introduced is being CUET. This type of examination for undergraduate and PG both. This type of examination is like one day exam. MCQ multiple choice questions are being provided in the examination. Whosoever scores higher in that examination, that person will get more preference, more choices in getting good college admissions. This applies to UG and PG both. Now what has happened over here is that whatever you have performed throughout your school days, that has been negated, right? You have been a college topper, you have been a school topper throughout the 12 years, you topped in 10th, 12th, but on that day in the examination you fell ill, you could not perform well. Because of that, your CUT score is lower, and despite being a school topper, you could not get good college. So ultimately, entire performance is being reduced to performance on that one single day. So this is another issue being highlighted. Connected to this, the second issue, seventh issue is that mushrooming of coachings. So what has happened is that instead of quality educational institutions, coaching centers that help students crack these MCQs are mushroomed. So why it is happening? Because teaching and learning in schools and colleges have been affected. Students are being forced to prepare only for the CUT exams instead of focusing on holistic teaching and learning process. सारा फोकस उस एक एग्जाम को क्लियर करने पे है, और जैसे ही हमारा फोकस कुछ सीखने के बजाय किसी एक एग्जाम को क्लियर करने पे होता है, तो हम सारा गेस्ट पेपर, सारा प्रैक्टिस सेशन, सारा कोचिंग एडमिशन लेकर के बैठ जाते हैं कि हमें तो एग्जाम क्लियर करना ही करना है. सो दीज आर सम बेसिक इश्यूज जो कि में आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं, and these issues are very balanced. Other than this, the type of language this article is using is not of worth reading, because if you read that, you will feel that you will understand very easily that this is an anti-establishment article. Now we'll move to our third article. That is very simple, a small article, but again देखन में छोटन लगे घाव करे गंभीर वाली बात है. आर्टिकल छोटा ज़रूर है, बट ये बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव, बहुत जानकारी वाला होने वाला है. कैसे, अभी देख लेते हैं. तो सबसे पहले तो समझिए, फर्स्ट यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड इट इज़ अबाउट इम्यूनाइजेशन प्रोग्राम. सो इम्यूनाइजेशन मीन्स you vaccinating people so that they can be prevented from future potential diseases. So currently India has something called UIP, Universal Immunization Program. In this immunization program, certain vaccines are being provided to children, infants and pregnant women to prevent them from future encountering of certain diseases. अब एक रिसर्च हुआ है यहाँ पे. There is a research, these bodies are involved, and this research talks in support of introducing hexavalent vaccine into UIP. मतलब अभी क्या है, there are multiple vaccines in the UIP. This research says that introduce 6 in 1. Like all these 6 should be made into one injection, and this injection can be introduced under UIP. Hexavalent, 6 in 1. Why it says that? Hexa means 6. And what are the diseases actually? So combination of vaccine that protects infants against diphtheria, tetanus, pertussis, hepatitis B, polio, Haemophilus influenza type B, HIV. So just be very vigilant. This is HIV and this is hepatitis B. So both are two different diseases. So these are the 6 diseases. These 6 diseases you must remember. ये याद करने बहुत ज़रूरी है. You should also remember how these diseases are being caused. For example, diphtheria. Then we have tetanus. Then we have pertussis, which is also called whooping cough. Then we have hepatitis B. Then we have polio. Then we have HIV, Haemophilus influenza type B. These are the diseases. Out of these 6, 2 are being caused by virus. These are 2 being caused by virus, all other by bacteria. This you need to understand, because questions actually can be framed from this, because this is a very nuanced information. Which of the कौन से डिजीजेज वायरस से होते हैं, कौन से नहीं होते हैं, और कौन सी डिजीजेज जो हैं, कौन सी डिजीजेज की वैक्सीन जो है UIP में इंक्लूडेड है. सो दीज आर द सम बेसिक फैक्ट्स. what is the present scenario? Children are being given vaccines separately for each of these. So उससे क्या हो रहा है, बार बार हॉस्पिटल विजिट करना और हेल्थ सेंटर विजिट करना, और जो वर्कर्स भी हैं उनके लिए भी समस्या है, झंझट है. Other than that, the transportation or storage of the vaccines, that also becomes a bit challenging. But if hexavalent vaccine is being introduced, then you do give one shot, and that one shot will act as a vaccine for all the 6 diseases. So this is a important important development that happened, and if it goes ahead, you can expect very soon government bringing out a notification or bringing out certain funding or support for developing such hexavalent vaccines, and it will have its own benefits, like a single injection. It reduces the number of injections children need, eases the workload of frontline health workers, it lowers cold chain requirements, saves caregivers times. These are certain benefits. This was an important news, that's why I covered it in today's session.